Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition. Today we're going to talk about how to interpret our dream world in a whole new way. So imagine, you actually don't even have to imagine this because we've all done this. You're looking at a picture, right? And sometimes you can look at a picture. First we're going to look at a picture of our own life, our own, what we're going to perceive as our current reality, the physical reality. And you look at that picture of yourself, it could be from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it doesn't really matter. And you can remember certain things around that picture sometimes. Sometimes you can't remember anything. Like you look at the picture and you're like, wow, I don't really even remember where that was taken. What was even around it. I have no memory of it at all. But you normally can put it in a chronological order. Like you remember your age in it, or you remember something about where you were. It's either in the past, but you remember something about it. You have some kind of time sequence, or what you would perceive as time, what the human would perceive as time to put to it. There's some pattern in it, in a sense. Even though sometimes it can invoke no emotion at all. And other times you can look at one that invokes a lot of emotion. Now, if you look at someone else's pictures, you aren't in them, you have no real attachment to them, and you don't have any context to them. So you just look at them, and you can also put them in some kind of chronological order because you know it was taken, at a certain time in this person's life. I'm always going to put time in quotation marks because it doesn't really exist. But for the purpose of words in this video, I have to use the word time. I don't know another word to put in because it's kind of important in this sense. Or you don't have an attachment to them in a sense. Unless you have an attachment to the person, and then it's going to invoke some kind of emotion. Not really so much for the situation the person was in, but just the person. The person's going to trigger something within us, right? Especially if we had a strong emotion for the person, or we could say that we love the person, or whatever it was about the person. But something about it will trigger us. Sometimes it won't at all. It's the beauty of pictures. Now imagine your dream world as the same thing. They are pictures of a reality. They're pictures of a different reality that you might not remember because your consciousness doesn't remember it. But they're not in order. When you look at a picture in this reality, we can put a time to it. In the dream world, there's no time. Kind of like in this world, there's no time, but our linear mind puts time chronological, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. You know what I'm saying? In an order. There's some kind of linear order to it. In the dream world, there's no linear order, so you're actually seeing all these pictures of you in different spaces, in different places, but they're not in any order. So they can seem very distorted and very confusing because you can't you don't have a reference to it. So when your linear mind gets involved in them, we wake up and go, wow, that didn't make any sense. Because we can't there's no framework around it. Because in those higher realms of consciousness, when we expand into the other realms, remember they're all real pictures of us. They're just almost like the Harry Potter moving pictures. They're moving pictures of us, but they're not in order. And we can flip from one to the other, different dimensions, different aspects of us, doing different things in different spaces. But they're all us. They're just different pictures of us. Now, just like when you look at pictures in your current physical reality, some you don't remember. Some you look at and you're like, I don't even know what that is. And others will evoke emotion even if you can't really remember any context around the picture you're seeing in your dream state. That's why I always will say, when you're dealing with your dreams, look at how you feel about it. Does it feel important? Just like when you look at certain pictures, some pictures feel more important than others. Something will evoke a deeper emotion than other things as well. And when we see the pictures of our lives in our different dream states, different dream worlds, different realities, they're just as real. We just don't have a context to it. So the context to it, we really can just go with our emotions. That's why we might see someone who in this current reality has passed away. But when we see a picture of, we see them in our dream reality, it evokes an emotion. because we have an attachment to that person. And there are sometimes when we'll see pictures of people in our dream reality that we really have no attachment to in this reality. Like, we don't know who they are, but they still invoke a emotion when we wake up, even if we don't even know who they were. Because it's a lot of energies at play, a lot of energies that'll come back in maybe later on. Like I said, there are no red herrings really in anything we do, and the dream world's no different. We just look at it as different because it doesn't seem to have the same rules as this reality, as our physical reality, because we don't apply the same rules. Our mind is not in control of those realities. It's multi-dimensional realities. Our mind's not in control of them. So if our mind's not in control of them, we can't put any context around it. That's why when we try to put some kind of framework around when we wake up, we just completely go bonkers with them. So look at the feeling of them, how you skip around, how things shift and change. And you'll start to see in your waking state, things can do the same thing. You shift realities, you shift vibrations, you shift realities. I know I have so many experiences where I would swear I've done something, paid a bill. Usually it's pay a bill. For me, it's usually I paid something and I remember going on, I remember doing it. And then I go back and check it because I've gotten so I go back and check things and I didn't do it. I'm like, so then I know I've kind of shifted. It sounds bizarre, but it happens, and it will start happening more and more the more you start paying attention to it. Certain things you thought happened, once you shifted, they haven't happened. They might never happen, or you haven't done them yet. Because there really isn't any time. We're just shifting in and out of different levels of consciousness, which changes the picture. That's what you're doing when you're sleeping. When you're dreaming, you're just seeing all these different pictures. So start framing things in a different shift your perception, shift your perspective of what you're looking at. There's no past, there's no present. In the dream world, there's nothing. It's just, you're just looking at a series of pictures. And how do you feel about them? How you feel about them is going to tell you a lot about what that picture is to you. And if it's going to come into play here, or if it's just something you're clearing and it really didn't matter. A lot of times if I have no emotion around a dream, but it seemed like, wow, that didn't, it's crazy, what was going on? It was all over the place, but nothing really struck me. I know I'm probably just clearing old realities out. I say old, but just clearing out realities that I don't need the energy to bleed over here. I'm clearing out old patterns, and that's in all dimensions I'm in, not just this one. But other ones will hit close to home. And they'll have an emotion, they'll trigger an emotion. And sometimes that's for us to settle stuff. Because our dream state is also a place where we settle stuff. It's our own courtroom in a sense. We're settling our old debts. If we don't want to have to do it here. Or sometimes we still have to do it here, but that's just sort of a place where we can do it. And it gets some of that emotion out. It's a playground for us in a sense. But it's just as real. So next time you go through your photo album, look at what grabs you. And just remember, when you're in the dream world, you're just going through a photo album of all the different parts of you all over the place. Look at what sets with you. Don't worry about what doesn't. It doesn't really matter. But it's just as real. It's just as interesting. Just might not trigger any emotion. So, happy hunting, and keep practicing the art of intuition.